Our intent is to use the power of television carefully and hopefully wisely. When we go into the home or the office or the environment of our interview subject, our goal is not just to plug and promote their latest book or TV show, tell you how much money they've got. Not that all those things aren't interesting. But our real goal is to find out something more about really who they are, what matters to them, what they're thinking about, what they're concerned about. Share some of their hopes and dreams and ideas, because we believe that with that substance comes thought. And with thought sometimes comes action, and hopefully that action is positive and it makes a difference in our lives, in your lives. So come with me now as Bruce W. Cook interviews. Melissa Rivers is a child of privilege. She grew up in a very rich and a very famous household. But her life is not perfection and glamour and wealth and fame all the time. She invited us into her home in Los Angeles to share some of the very high highs and some of the lows in her life, her very young life, as she strikes out on her own, making a name for herself separate and apart from her very famous mom.
You know, you always think to yourself, you know, what sums up your life and your
life on the refrigerator.
Yeah, my far side here definitely sums it up. Ed's dingo farm, and there's all these little dingoes lined up on the fence right next door to, you know, Doreen's nursery and all the little kids, and just the caption just says trouble brewing.
Melissa, is there a lesson that your mom taught you that you might call the most important advice a mother could give?
Just keep going. Put blinders on and keep going.
That's the essence of Joan Rivers.
That's absolutely the essence of my mother.
Complete essence of Joan Rivers. Your mother actually taught me a lesson.
Which was?
And it was the hardest lesson I think I ever learned as an adult in terms of business. And it was, don't you believe that there aren't 1,000 people standing behind you wanting to take your job, your place, your position, that want to be as smart as you, as funny as you, as talented as you, as whatever is you. Don't you think that they aren't there? Even if you don't see them, they are there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not only, you know, who want to be as smart, who are smarter, funnier, more talented, taller, shorter, thinner, fatter, whatever it is. They're there. They're always breathing down your neck.
They are there, biting at your heels. I didn't want to believe her. I swear to you, I did not want to believe her. It took me a long.
Right.
It took me a long time.
She's right.
I also knew your dad really well. Mm-hmm. And I know you went through HELL. Decade and a half later, where are you with all of that?
I'm a suicide survivor.
Is there such a thing? Do you really ever survive? Do you ever get over it?
I don't think you ever really get over it, except it changes. You become a survivor rather than a victim.
And what made you become a survivor?
Just realizing that I had no option but to respect his choices. I respected him in life, and I have to respect him in death. I don't have to agree with it.
I'm also a suicide survivor. So I'm bringing it up because I don't think I will ever get over the pain. No matter when or where or what, it will never go away. And I blamed myself for years. Even though I had nothing to do with it, I blamed myself. Any similar feelings?
I think every person who experiences a suicide of someone close to them, whether it be a friend or a parent or a sibling or whatever, always somehow blames themselves. I always could have made another phone call.
That's exactly it. I could have made a phone call. If I had just called at that moment and he picked up the phone.
Right, that was my big thing. If I had just made that last phone call, you know, if I had just said that one thing, if I had just done that one thing differently. And you have to make a choice not to beat yourself up. And it's a very hard choice to make, and I don't think that people who survive suicide really ever 100% get over it. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine the other day who lost her mother at 9 to suicide. And, you know, she's in her 40s and she still carries the what ifs. But at one point, the voice gets smaller, less powerful.
I know that your dad and your mom both loved you very much as a child, and I'm sure that your mom still does. Was that love enough to carry you through, to get you through? Do you still feel that love today when you hear your dad's voice in quiet moments?
I don't think I'll ever feel that love enough. I think somewhere there's always a part of me that's going to feel like I failed. There's always a part of me that's going to feel like I've been abandoned. It colors every relationship I have. So, you know, it's easy to think, oh, I'm a survivor, and it's also easy to buy into the melodramatics of it. And it just depends on how indulgent you want to allow yourself to be.
Do you think you can help other people by talking about it now? Am I being too personal by talking about it now, or do you think somebody else might hear a message, hear one sentence that might help them?
Well, you can only hope that someone's going to hear a message. I think one of the great problems with suicide is it's this big, tainted, ooh, spooky, big capital S branded on your chest. And, you know, I think that's wrong. I think a lot of it, you know, it's wrong.
I think your dad would be very proud of you. Look what you've accomplished with your mom. It's really amazing. You are a household celebrity name.
Which is so bizarre.
And you've done this based on a crazy fashion thing with E! Television, and then you've had many roles and bits and pieces of your life, but it all has built into this major celebrity status. Do you look in the mirror and say, okay, now what do I do? Where do I go from here? You're so young.
I think I look in the mirror every day and say, you know, where do I go from here? What do I do next? You know, what's the next logical step? How do I continue forward? It's just weird. You don't look in yourself in the mirror and say, oh, I'm a household name. I'm part of pop culture. They make fun of me on Saturday Night Live. Ooh, you know, you don't really think of yourself that way. At least I don't. I mean, maybe some people do. I don't. Maybe because I've been doing it for so many years and I've worked so hard to get where I am for so many years and grew up in it that it doesn't, you know, some people say, oh, it seems like overnight. And God, that's the furthest thing from the truth.
It's not overnight, but you're still very young. You've got a long career and life ahead of you that could lead to a lot of things. I want to know, see, I see you on E! And I see a very funny comedian that is like trying to bust out, that with maybe a few good writers and a few more years, you might even be funnier than Joan.
Well, I don't think anyone will ever be funnier than my mother. No, I think I've developed into a straight man. And that takes a certain something.
What kind of work do you do to get you to be that great straight man for your mom or for someone else? Or to build your reputation as a host and as an interviewer?
You just do. You figure out what works. It's like, you know, my great love is working live. And someone asked me the other day, how do you learn how to do it? Well, you just do it. And either you have the stomach for it or you don't. I mean, I know people who are absolutely, simply, completely frozen and terrified live. And seasoned professionals.
Right.
You would say, so-and-so hates being live? I mean, where you just can't believe that.
Were you nervous at first? Were you terrified at first? Did you grow into it, or was it just always there? When that camera went on and you were standing out on the runway, you just felt the motion in the ocean and boom, it came out?
Well, I think part of me always knew it felt good. Was I good at it? No one is good their first couple times live.
So where do you see that going?
You know, unfortunately, we live in a time where there's just not that much live television. You know, if I could be Ed Sullivan, I would.
Well, maybe you will be.
Well, maybe I will be. You know, you never know.
And why not? You know, and why not? We need Ed Sullivan.
You know, I don't know if there's really a great, you know, vacancy of a, you know, variety show right now.
Well, they're turning, what's her name?
Nick and Jessica.
Yes, Nick and Jessica back into Sonny and Cher.
True, they're doing that, but it's different, you know. I think the times are different. I think you'd have to have a very different edge to the whole thing, but that would be like my dream, to be able to do something like that live once a week where you prep all week for it and then boom, you know, smack it out of the park.
We could take you back to New York. We'll put you in the theater.
No, I don't want to do it from LA.
You do?
This is my home.
Do you love it here?
It's my home.
You grew up here as a child.
Grew up in LA.
In Bel Air.
Yep. Went away for 4 years for college and came running back. My whole family's been about books, so that's pretty cool.
Even the screen is books.
Even the screen is books. Yeah, this is actually one of my most treasured possessions. I have this one, and I have 2 more throughout my house. These were the actual original finials from the staircase from the house I grew up in.
Your parents always had a very intellectual household. Books were very important growing up. What is your memory of combining that show business childhood with a pursuit of knowledge and learning?
Well, both my parents were so bright and so smart and always learning, always reading, always researching. I mean, they could turn going to a bookstore into an all-day event. There was never any limit of how much you could buy in a bookstore. If you wanted it and you were going to read it, you could have it. There were never any rules. And it just became a great childhood memory, and it just, you know, my mom and I to this day swap books all the time.
So you're still a major reader?
Voracious reader.
I saw the books in the library there. Have you read them all, or are they decorative?
Someone in my family has read all of them, combined, because they're all through my house. And that's just a portion of them. A lot are in storage, a lot are in my mom's place in New York. But every book in this house has been read by someone in the family.
So California is your home, perhaps for good. What about with Mom living in New York? She's out here a lot.
She's out here a lot. She's out to see my son a lot. She's a great grandmother.
You have a 3-year-old, and it's Edgar
Cooper.
He goes by Cooper?
Yeah, the Coop. Little man.
How is it being a mom?
A challenge.
How do you do it? How do you manage all the insanity of a career and a 3-year-old?
Well, I have a tremendous amount of help and support, which is wonderful, as much as I hate to quote, "it takes a village," but I really believe it does. You just do. I mean, he's the love of my life. He's the most important thing in my life. He's so far, in a way, the priority in my life.
When you were married, you probably expected that to be the case, but your marriage didn't take, it didn't last.
No.
What happened?
If neither person's getting what they need.
It may be a personal question, but what weren't you getting?
I wasn't getting the support I needed. I function best as part of a team. And I'm at my best and do my best work and am at my strongest emotionally and feel like I can take over the world when I feel that I'm part of a team. And I didn't feel like I was part of a team. I felt like an individual. And
he was doing his thing and you were doing your thing.
And that's not what works for me. And that was a very hard decision to make.
You were both very involved in horses.
Yes, we both still are. It's very hard.
You're a lover of riding, and he
trained show jumpers professionally, and I still show as an amateur.
Is that how you met?
That's how we met, and that's how we still see each other, you know, a lot because of it. And he's getting remarried.
How does that make you feel?
Very happy for him, because I think he really wants that. I never doubted that he didn't want to be married. He just didn't marry the right person.
And what about you?
It makes me, I guess I'm a little jealous, not of her, but that I haven't reconnected.
So there's nobody special?
There was, but I felt one way and he felt another. I thought I was in love and he wasn't.
What are the complications of a divorced family raising a little boy, especially in a Hollywood environment?
It's freaking hard. It's hard. And the hard thing with the Hollywood thing is that was a big problem for him. And he really doesn't want to see our son having the same upbringing that I had. And yet I'm reveling in the fact that I take him to work and then he's playing in the hair and makeup room and running and playing soccer in the halls and being on sound stages and being on sets, because that's how I was raised. And I have such wonderful memories of it.
Well, I was going to say something had to be right, despite the unfortunate death of your dad and the ups and downs of a show business career. Something had to be right, because if it hadn't, you as the only daughter of this amazingly pressured family in show business would have run for the hills. You wouldn't have wanted to follow in those footsteps.
No, I have wonderful memories of playing in the halls of NBC and traveling and spinning around in hair and makeup chairs. I mean, just, you know, it was part of the fabric of my life. And I love that Cooper's experiencing that. I love that when I take him to work, he wants to go and play on the set. You know, it's what I did. And explore and know who everybody is. And all the camera guys are out in the hallway playing soccer with him before we shoot, or running up and down the red carpet, or whatever he's doing. And yet I know that's, my ex-husband really doesn't want him doing that.
I've read all your mom's books about her growing up in Larchmont. And the thing I remember most was the whole issue of style and how her mother, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this stands in my memory, how her mother had a great deal of style, and even though her dad was a doctor, things were never enough. It wasn't enough. The house wasn't nice enough, the clothes weren't nice enough, and from what I gather, it was all pretty nice. And this has obviously had a major effect on your mother's life, and now you're in the style business too. You're a fashionista, you're a commentator. Where's the balance in all of it?
You know, I always joke with my friends, you know, I prefer living in the shallow end of the pool, but I can, you know, go to the deep end when I need to. But just be aware, I'm going to scare myself. I don't know, I think I just cover it all with humor. I think I'm much more about substance than about style.
Because when you're standing out there on the runway and you're commenting on somebody's clothing, which is a trademark of your mom, and it has become a trademark of the two of you together, and people tune in, they pay attention to it. They quote it at the office the next day, the women talk about it over coffee, the men laugh about it with their friends. It's a whole shtick. It's part of you. It'll follow you wherever you go. You could become not only Ed Sullivan, but you could be the First Lady President, and people will remember the fashion stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think it just makes me laugh, you know? It's like you want to say, hi, I play someone really shallow on TV, but I'm not. You know? People are like, God, I didn't know that there was more to you.
Well, it's the same thing with your mom. She's had that act for 40, 50 years.
40.
35.
Let's not age her too much.
Your mother is not shallow.
No. No, I think we're both tormented by the fact that we're not shallow, but really strive to be. You know what I mean? Life would be so much easier if you could just be completely shallow.
Well, actually, that's another lesson your mom, I remember. She used to say, I want to come back really stupid, really blonde, truly blonde, with a husband with a lot of money and very little demands on me and a small dog.
Yeah.
Does she still feel that way?
Absolutely.
Does it ever bother you what people say about you, reporters write about you, and you see your picture plastered on a tabloid?
Well, of course it does, but you know what, I'm really lucky that not a lot is written about me. Not a lot is said about me. I'm afforded a tremendous amount of privacy.
Why?
I don't know.
I would think you'd be fodder, fodder, fodder.
I would think I would be fodder, fodder, fodder too. And I'm not. I don't know if it's just that, you know, like with the paparazzi and stuff, I really have a foot on either side of the carpet. Sometimes I'm with them, sometimes I'm on the other side. So I think it's a little bit more, not of a respect level, but of a leave her alone
Really?
kind of level.
Really?
I know, I'm always surprised too, because it's not
I don't think anybody left anybody alone if money was involved.
And it's not like I haven't been out behaving poorly in the past.
Maybe you should try that. More of it.
No, the only ones that have really ever picked on me was Celebrities Uncensored on my own network, which was kind of bizarre. I think they just put that stuff in because it made, you know, the editors laugh.
What about when they say bad things about your mom?
I've grown up with that.
Does it matter?
No.
Did it hurt you when you were a kid?
Of course it does. Still hurts, but you just kind of go, whatever.
What did she say? What did your parents say to you when, you know, somebody said something about them? What did they say?
At least they're talking. You know, you want to have any reaction, because that's what people watch. Whether they love it or they hate it, they watch. You know, it's like the old story with Howard Stern. People were calling in and complaining, but his numbers were getting bigger because people who were listening because they didn't like him. You know, so it's being that lightning rod.
What about now, after all of these years of success in your family? Does it matter as much to keep the people talking, to keep in front of the camera? Now, obviously, you have a whole lifetime of a career ahead of you, but your mom is at the absolute peak and pinnacle of her life. She's done it all. Everything good and bad and indifferent has happened to her. Does she still crave that moment of celebrity?
I don't think she craves the moment of celebrity. She craves the work.
She just wants to be working.
She just wants to be working.
Where does that come from?
Loving what she does.
So when the offers don't come in, or the QVC jewelry isn't selling, or the next talk show?
Makes her climb walls.
Even still?
Even still, she cannot just stop. And she always doesn't do what?
Okay, so is that the secret, the difference, the ingredient that makes someone a star and someone that maybe has the talent not a star?
That's the age-old question.
I don't know what the answer.
I don't know. You know,
I don't know.
Why is someone a movie star and why is someone who's even perhaps more talented not? They don't have it, whatever it is.
I think it is part of that drive.
Except I know a lot of actors that aren't really driven.
And they're doing just fine.
And they're doing just fine.
Yeah, well, maybe
it's
not
whatever.
it.
It's something about whatever it is that makes people watch you.
So why do people watch Melissa?
Honestly, I think people watch me because they don't like me.
What?
I really honestly believe people watch me because in general, they want it, they don't like me.
Because?
Because I think they think it's all been handed to me, and I don't think people really understand completely what I do and why I'm there.
Well, obviously the opportunity was handed to you, but...
No, the opportunity was not handed to me.
Really? Okay, explain.
You know, where should I start? Hi, I was an intern at Entertainment Tonight. I was a research assistant on Rescue 911.
No, I don't mean your career. I mean the opportunity to be on television with your mom. If you were, you know, Susie Q, whatever, your mom wouldn't be standing there with you. So
well, my mom actually did her first show for E! with a different co-host. Really?
She wanted her daughter?
No, E! wanted her daughter.
Really? Why?
I represented a whole different demographic. And there was a certain chemistry and a certain thing where my mom is so sharp that there needed to be some deflection, and I can deflect and say things and make them acceptable in a way that someone else is just going to come off as rude or snarky.
Snarky is not good.
No, but, you know, it'll look like they're trying to compete. It's interesting. I think people really love watching the show, and it's almost a guilty pleasure.
So where do you go from here, besides the Ed Sullivan Show?
Where do I go from here?
What about more sitcom roles? Why would you see yourself playing a regular part on a weekly television sitcom?
I would love to do a sitcom.
Do you read for them?
Occasionally. Generally, I'm kind of in that trap where
reality.
I'm so clearly me that it's very hard for anyone to get past that. I do a lot of cameos as me.
I think preteens and young girls look up to and identify with you. I
think so, especially in a lot of them about just issues that I'm really open with about dealing with your mom, about working with your mom. We have we have a televised relationship where I roll my eyes and I, how could you do this? Or no, you're wrong.
And mothers and daughters do behave that way.
And mothers and daughters do behave that way, and a lot of people have tried to put other mother-daughter combinations together for talk shows and nighttime shows and daytime shows and red carpet shows and strip shows and this show. It doesn't work. There has to be a certain dynamic.
Besides the love of your son and your family, what is your greatest passion? What makes you truly happy?
That time when you're with somebody and you feel like someone's got your back and you feel truly loved and supported and cared about. I mean, that's what brings me peace. And that's what makes me, other than obviously my son and my work and this and that, that's when I'm at my best and that's when I'm at my happiest.
This has been a treat. Really enjoyed this. You've shared a lot of feelings and ideas with us today, and I think that makes a difference on television.
I think so too. I think you have a responsibility to yourself to keep your privacy, but I also think at one point you have a responsibility to share, because the one thing I've learned through my father's death and everything is we're truly not alone.